It happened in 2023 in a quiet, wooded suburb outside of Portland, Oregon. Lisa, a 28-year-old ER nurse, had just gotten home from a brutal double shift. It was just past 1 a.m., and the neighborhood was silent under a blanket of spring rain. She lived alone in a cozy, one-story house at the end of a cul-de-sac. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers, a place she'd poured her savings into and filled with plants and thrift store finds. She was dead tired, so she kicked off her shoes at the door and collapsed on the couch without changing out of her scrubs. That's when she heard it. A knock at the door. Not loud, not frantic, just casual, like someone knocking on a neighbor's door during the day. She froze. Who would be knocking at 1:07 a.m.? Then came a voice. "Hello?" A man. "I think I broke down. Can you help me with directions?" Lisa stayed silent. She was instantly on edge. Her heart thumped painfully in her chest. Something was off. She crept to the front window and carefully pulled the curtain back a sliver. It was hard to see through the rain-slicked glass and porch-light glare, but there was a man, standing a little too far from the door, not next to it, angled toward it, like he wasn't really planning to knock again. He didn't look soaked, despite the rain. Lisa stepped away from the window, grabbed her phone, and dialed 911. She whispered into the phone, explaining the situation. The dispatcher told her to stay calm, stay quiet, and that police were on their way. 2 minutes later, the doorknob jiggled. Then it turned. She hadn't locked the door when she came in. She bolted toward her bedroom and slammed the door shut, locking it just in time. She crouched behind her bed, heart racing, trying to stifle her breathing. She could hear someone walking inside her house now. Slow, deliberate footsteps, not searching for help. Hunting. "Hello?" the man called out again, mockingly this time. Then, another voice. A second man. Quiet. Murmuring. There were two of them. Lisa whispered into the phone to the dispatcher. "They're inside. There's two. Please hurry." She heard a door creak, probably the hall closet, then drawers opening in the kitchen. They weren't in a rush. They were comfortable, taking their time. Then came the sound that made her blood run cold. The handle to her bedroom door turned. They tried it. Locked. Silence. Then, a deep male voice just beyond the door. "We know you're in there." Lisa didn't respond. She held her breath, clutching her phone with trembling hands. The dispatcher kept talking to her, trying to keep her calm. The men tried the handle again. Harder this time, a shoulder against the door. It cracked slightly, the frame groaning under the force. Then came a sudden bang. Another. They were trying to break it in. Lisa grabbed the heavy lamp from her nightstand. It was all she had. She crouched beside the bed, ready to swing with everything she had if they got through. Suddenly, sirens. Blue and red lights spilled across the rain-streaked windows. The banging stopped. Footsteps pounded away toward the back of the house. Within seconds, she heard shouting from outside. "Police! On the ground!" It was over in minutes. Both men were caught trying to flee through the back fence. Lisa was shaken, traumatized, but alive. The intruders were career criminals with histories of burglary and sexual assault. One of them had a warrant out in 2 states. They had no car, no breakdown. They had watched her come home, waited, and planned to rob the house. Or worse. The police told her something that chilled her even more. They had zip ties, duct tape, and condoms in their backpacks. Lisa moved shortly after that. She installed a full security system, and she never left her door unlocked again. Even now, years later, she can't sleep without a chair propped under the doorknob, because once you've heard someone whisper through your door, "We know you're in there," you never forget it. I've never told anyone the story. Not my wife, not my friends, not even my therapist. But I think about it almost every night before I go to sleep, and I still check the locks 3 times before bed, even now, 5 years later. It happened in early October. I was living alone at the time, just a small, older house in a quiet neighborhood. I had just bought the place, a fixer-upper, and I'd been doing most of the work myself. It wasn't in the best part of town, but the price was right, and the neighbors seemed nice enough. Retired couples, young families, normal. The house had a side door that led to the kitchen, and above it was a little key holder nailed into the wooden frame, a leftover from the previous owner. A little tin frog with a hook underneath, the kind of thing you'd hang a spare key on in case you locked yourself out. It was cute, and I left it there because I thought it added charm. Big mistake. One night, I fell asleep on the couch watching a movie. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of a door clicking shut. Not a slam, just a click. Software. Intentional. I sat up fast, heart in my throat, and grabbed the TV remote to kill the sound. Silence. I sat there for a full minute, holding my breath. I told myself it was probably just the house settling. You know how old places are. Pipes bang, wood creaks. Still, I got up, did a sweep of the house. Front door, locked. Back door, locked. Side door, the deadbolt was in place, but the knob wasn't. That gave me pause. I always lock both. It's muscle memory. But maybe I slipped? I relocked it, shook it off, and went to bed, too tired to keep worrying. Over the next few days, I started noticing little things that felt off. The kitchen chair would be slightly out of place. My bedroom window cracked open an inch, even though it had been raining. I thought I was just being paranoid or forgetful. I'd been working long hours. Maybe I was moving through the house in a fog and not remembering. But then one night, I found a fork in the sink. That may not sound like a big deal, except I hadn't cooked or eaten anything at home that day. That's when I bought cameras. I installed a cheap, motion-triggered cam by the side door and one inside the living room, just for peace of mind. 2 nights later, I woke up to a notification on my phone, motion detected, 3:41 a.m. I opened the app. My heart nearly stopped. The footage from the side door showed a figure, tall, hooded, walking right up to the side door. He didn't even hesitate. He reached up, grabbed the spare key from the tin frog, and let himself in like he lived there. I watched in stunned silence as he entered, stayed inside for exactly 13 minutes, then exited again. He locked the door behind him. I checked the footage from the living room. You could see him step into the frame, his back to the camera. He stood completely still, facing the hallway that led to my bedroom. He never moved, just stood there for 5 minutes, then slowly turned and left. That meant he'd been inside while I was sleeping. I called the cops immediately. They showed up fast. I showed them the footage. They took it seriously, at least at first. Did a sweep, asked questions. But there were no signs of forced entry. No prints. Nothing stolen. No face on camera. Just a shape. They told me it was probably a vagrant or someone who had squatted in the house before I moved in. Maybe he thought it was still empty. "It's good you caught it early," the officer said. "Change your locks and take that key holder down." They never found him, or if they did, they didn't tell me. I changed the locks, installed a full security system, but I still moved out a month later. I couldn't stay. Not after what happened the next night. I was packing up boxes in the living room, getting ready to move out the next day. It was late, past midnight, but I wasn't tired. I heard something. A tap, tap, tap on the side door. Not loud, not urgent, just testing. I froze. My security system was armed. The cameras were on. I crept over and peeked through the curtains. No one. Then my phone buzzed. Motion detected. Backyard. I opened the app. The feed showed the side yard, empty. Then the figure stepped into frame from the far edge. Slowly, deliberately. He walked up to the camera and stared straight into it. This time, he wasn't wearing a hood. He smiled. Then he raised his hand and held up something small and silver. A key. That made no sense. I had changed the locks. I took down the frog. There was no key. I checked all the doors. All locked. No sign of a break-in. But I didn't sleep. I sat in the hallway with a baseball bat and the lights on until morning. He never came in. But somehow, he had a copy. It's been 5 years. I live in a different state. Married now. House with an alarm system. Cameras. No spare keys. And every lock checked religiously. I haven't seen him since. No sign. No hint. No clue. But once a year, in October, I get a piece of mail. No return address. Inside is a single item. A photo of my house, taken from the street. Always a different house. Always current. Always a reminder. He knows where I live, and he still has a key.